Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first video of mine you are seeing, then welcome. So I missed out on this eyeshadow palette from Kosas last year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was limited edition for the holidays. I never ended up picking it up, but I always kind of regretted not doing so because it's a palette that's right up my alley. This is the Kosas Undressed eyeshadow palette, and of course it's just a very simple neutral palette. I know probably many people look at this and think boring. I look at this and think just lovely, lovely. This is exactly the types of shades that I look for the most. They're what I love. But I noticed that when Kosas recently did their Friends and Family sale, I don't believe that sale is still going on right now, I might be wrong, but I noticed that this palette was back on their website. So I don't know if that's something they're bringing back permanently or if it was just for the sale. I'm not exactly sure. I'll know when I go to link this. I'll be able to see if it's still available on the website or not, but I was glad to see it because I always kind of regretted not picking it up. But I'm going to be doing some swatches as well as 2 different looks with this eyeshadow palette. I want to make sure I'm using all 8 shades. I'm going to start with the swatches first. I will go ahead and say that the swatches, my camera was having a moment. I did not realize until later on when I was doing some editing that my camera right there at the beginning kind of kept wanting to go out of focus a little bit, but you can see the swatches, and I will say, just spoiler alert, it swatches really well. They were really beautiful. So let's go ahead and get into these swatches. I've already placed down an eyeshadow primer. I just used my Milani one today. I will, maybe tomorrow when I do look 2, I completely forgot to do it today. I'll do the Milani on one side and the Danessa Myricks on the other just to kind of try different things out, but I forgot, so I'm just wearing the Milani one today, but everything will be listed and linked for you below. So I'm first going to take my Flawless Concealer brush from e.l.f. and I'm going to go into the shade Hint. This looks like a nice setter shade for me. Now, one thing I noticed about this palette when I was swatching it is that these are very soft eyeshadows. They're very soft, so they do kind of have a lot of kick up to them. I noticed that, but now that doesn't really personally bother me, but I always like to mention that because I know that some people don't really like that kind of formula. Well, I feel like it's set down pretty well. Let me see. So far, so good. I only picked up just a little bit of that. And I'm just kind of pressing that on top of that eyeshadow primer just to make sure it's set so none of the shades skip around. I would normally say this palette would probably be perfect for travel, but because the eyeshadows are so soft, I probably wouldn't be the best option for that, but I do like its small size. Like, you only have 8 shades in here, so you know exactly what you want to reach for pretty much. It's just something easy to work with. On a Sigma E24, I'm going in with the shade Whisper. This is like a cool tone shade in this palette. I believe it's really about the only cool tone as far as the swatches. So let's see how this applies. I didn't pick up too much because I don't know how pigmented these might be. Of course, I can always go back in with more. And that's very pretty. My ring light might be washing this out a little bit because it's dark outside. I'm having to rely on a ring light, but in person, that's just like a very subtle, almost like an eye contour. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit more and I'm going to apply that, and let's see if it builds up nicely. Oh yeah. I can't believe how soft these eyeshadows are. Like, that's really pretty. It's very subtle. I don't even know if it'll even show up on camera. But if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you know that I love subtle eyeshadow. I don't really like a lot going on the eyes. That's one reason why palettes like this are definitely right up my alley. Why I wanted this palette, and I kind of regretted not picking it up last year because it's just something that's so simple. And I like that. I love these really simple color stories and eyeshadow palettes that's just easy. So that looks really pretty. It just gives you very subtle definition in on your eye. Honestly, you could probably just go in with that. And if you wanted to, you could go back in with the shade Hint on your lid, and that would be a beautiful look. I was at first going to go row by row. I don't know if I should still do that. And then maybe just use the shimmer shade in both looks. Yeah, we might do that. I feel like with this top row minus the shimmer shade, it's more on the cool tone neutral side versus this row is much more warm. Using the same brush, I'm going to take the shade Peak. I might have to end up going to one of the ones on the bottom row because I might need just a little bit. I don't know how deep this shade will be. I picked up a little more on the brush and I'm going to stamp that out here. Yeah, that does lean a little more warm. Well, no, it looks kind of neutral. Neutral, that'd be a better term for it. I thought it'd be nice just to go row by row, especially because this top row is more, with the exception of that shimmer, it's more cool tone neutral. And then really go in with those warm tone shades tomorrow, especially because I'm wearing this really cool tone sweater. Honestly, that's so pretty. It's so subtle and simple, and I love that. Let's do the same thing over here. Just pressing that shade Peak on this outer half. I might, well, you know what, we'll see in just a second. I was about to say I might save the shimmer for tomorrow, but I really want to try that shimmer shade out. So far, I'm really liking this. I love how soft it is, because that's exactly what I look for in eyeshadow. At least this top row. Now, I know the bottom row has some more deeper shades, so we will get into more of those on the look tomorrow. But this top row is so soft. That's so pretty. Okay, I'm going to take a Sigma E57 and I'm going to go in with the shade Strip, which is that shimmer shade. Now, I went in with a more dense brush. I could have kept the other brush just to kind of make it more soft, but I want to see what this shade can do. So let's see. It's very soft. Yeah, it's a very soft shade. You might can build it up with your finger, but I do have these right now, so I'm not gonna do that. Or you probably could also spray your brush if you wanted to. I'm honestly fine with that right there. I think that if you are very into subtle eyeshadow, you will love this palette. If you are not, then no. That's pretty, because I like how soft that is. And if you went in with that more fluffier brush, it would have probably been even softer. Gosh, this is a pretty palette. So I'm just going to put on some mascara. I'm going to do the rest of my face off camera, and I'll come back and do the lower lash line. On a Sigma E57, I'm going in with the shade Peak, and I'm going to run that along my lower lash line. I'm taking a little bit of the shade Strip, which is that shimmer shade, and just kind of popping that right in here again, that inner corner, just a little bit. Not much, because it's not going to be brightening necessarily for my skin tone, but it's just a little pop of shimmer there. And here are the eyes all done. Alright, I'm going to zoom you out a little bit so I can just tell you right quick, like my blush is from Kosas. This is their Blush is Life Baked Blush, if I can get this open. And this one is in the shade Euphoria. And for the lips, I'm wearing the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner in the shade Pinky Swear, and then Pillow Talk from Charlotte Tilbury over the top, and that's just what I'm wearing on my face. Just kept it really soft because this eye look is just really soft and beautiful and So far, I'm very impressed. Of course, definitely when I do look number 2, that will be a true test of the pigment in this palette because those shades on the bottom row are a little bit darker, so we will see how those apply in look number 2. We're moving on to look number 2 with this palette, and I want to use this bottom row right here, which are all matte shades. I don't know if I'm going to use the shimmer or not because I want to make sure I'm using these last 4, but look number 1 wore beautifully all day yesterday. I had that look on for probably about, I'd say, 9 hours, and it looked so stunning by the end of the day. Even it held up really nicely even on my Milani eyeshadow primer. I didn't have any kind of creasing going on. These last couple of days it has been getting a little bit cooler here where I'm at, so that might have something to do with my eyelids not being so oily. But regardless, the look was beautiful. I really just loved how it looked. So we're going to be using these. They are more warm tones, so I wore the Warm Tone Sister sweater from that sweater I wore yesterday. This sweater and that one, there were 3 in total. They come from Walmart. It was years ago. I love them so much I bought all 3 of them because I just love them. They're really large, kind of oversized sweaters, and they're so comfy. But anyway, let me zoom you in and let's get started on this eye look. I am going to take that shade Hint though on the top row and use a Flawless Concealer brush from e.l.f. and I'm going to use that to set my eyeshadow primer. I could have really done that off camera, but I figured I'd show that step too. Why not? Because that is the only shade I'm going to be using from that top row. I'm still undecided if I want to use the shimmer shade. I might not today because I really want to focus on these final 4 shades. They have a little bit more depth to them, but now I'm not probably the best test of shades like that considering that I like to wear eyeshadow as soft as possible. So always remember that when you see me applying eyeshadow. It might work for me, but it might not work for you, especially if you are someone that wears your eyeshadows at more intensity. On a Sigma E24, I'm going to go in with the shade Gaze. I'm not going to pick up too much, just going to tap into that shade a few times. And then I'm going to apply that right into my crease. I will say these shades worked so beautifully yesterday. It didn't take hardly anything to get them to blend out. Now I know those shades were more on the lighter side, so let's see how well these shades blend. Blends out to a really soft shade, which I love that. I picked up just a touch more. We're going to just see if we can build it up just to see if it does build. I hope they make this palette permanent. I'm not sure. I know last year when they released it around the holidays, it was limited edition. But I'd love for them to make it permanent because it's a really pretty palette. So far, so good. I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side, applying that right into the crease. Might have picked up a little bit more on this side. It's okay. Always wipe the brush off and then go back in. I'm curious if any of you picked up this palette last year when it released for the first time, or was it one you skipped out on? Might not be something you're even interested in, that's okay too. I'm sure you have something in your collection just like it. Like if you were interested in the color story but you didn't really want to buy anything right now. It's very simple color story. I'm sure you have many times. I really only wanted it because I missed out last year, or I felt like I did, and I kind of regretted not picking it up because, I mean, it's a palette that I know is me, or felt like would be me just based on the way it looked. Using that same brush, I'm going in with that shade Untie, and we're going to place that out here in the outer half of my eye, or lid. I will say these shades are blending out beautifully. And I know this brush is really large to be doing this step because this is actually a concealer brush, but what I love about this is because of its size, it really diffuses out the eyeshadow to where I want it. But now it can create kind of a little bit of a mess on this outer corner. That's okay, that's why I like to do my eyes first. But if you are someone that wants the full pigment, then you definitely would want to skip that step using that Flawless Concealer brush. Let's go in with that same shade on this eye. So far, so good. I just love when a palette just works so well. And I did go to get the link for this yesterday, and it is still up on their website at the time I got the link, but now the sale is gone. So I don't know if Kosas will be doing any more sales. They probably will. So you might could get the palette on sale. I'm not sure if it's limited edition. It's like $40 without the sale price though, so just keep that in mind. And we're just going to keep the same brush. I'm making this very simple. Now I'm going to go in, let's see if I got the right shade. We're going to go in with the shade Drape. Now I'm only going to tap into this just a few times. You know what? I think I'm only going to actually tap in once. And the reason why is because I want to put that here, but I don't want it to be too deep. So I'm just going to tap one good time and let's see what it does. I honestly should have put this shade, I should have put this shade in the crease and then put Gaze here where I'm putting this. So that was my bad, but you know, it's okay. Now with the way I'm wearing this, it looks like one whole shade. So just keep that in mind. If you really build up the intensity out here, then you probably could make it look different. And you know what? I might go in with that shade Flaunt in just a second and build that up a little bit to kind of make it look a little bit different, like put it over this outer bit here. Yeah, I should have placed this shade in the crease and then used Gaze here instead, but you know what? It's okay. Just playing around with this palette. This isn't anything too serious. I just really want to make sure I'm using all the shades to make sure they all perform well, at least in the way that I like to wear them. Okay, so we are going to go in and take a little bit of the shade Flaunt. I'm just going to keep the same brush, make this just easy. And we're going to put this out here. And we're going to deepen this up a little bit. Put it right over that Untie shade. And just blend that in there. And I'm going to go back over it in just a second with my e.l.f. brush just to make sure the edges, but I'm going to try not to take too much of the pigment away. Because I really want this to stand out, especially since the shade at the beginning was a little bit similar to that Untie shade that I originally used. So I'm just going to take this and lightly kind of go around this a little bit, just lightly, like out here and right there in the crease where that shade meets. I'm not really going to take it away from where I have it on the lid. Just want to make sure it's nice and blended. Now you can definitely see a little bit better here. There's some differences in the shades. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Add that Flaunt shade over the top of Untie. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm not going to add that shimmer shade over the top. I like an all matte look here and there. And the same thing, I'm going to just take this brush and work around the edges here. We're not going to go over what's actually on the lid. And I'm barely touching my skin with this brush. So I'm just going to do my mascara and I'm going to do the rest of my face and I'll come right back and we'll do the lower lash line. Okay, I'm going to take a mixture of Untie and Drape. I just dipped one time in each of those and we're going to run that on my lower lash line. And then I'm going to dip one time in the shade Strip, which is that shimmer shade. Just once, just to add a little bit of sparkle here. It's not a brightening shade on me for my skin tone, but I'm just going to add just a little something here. And here is look 2, all done. Okay, just right quick, I'm wearing everything the same that I did yesterday as far as like foundation and stuff is concerned, but I am wearing a different shade of the Kosas Blushes Life Baked Blushes, and this one is in the shade Blissed. And the lips are the same that I was wearing yesterday. It's the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner in, I think that's Pinky Swear, and then Pillow Talk from Charlotte Tilbury. That's just the same. I just wanted to pick the same lip combo from yesterday. But I just, you know, after using this palette, and now I have used all 8 shades in the palette, I really like it. I do. It's right up my alley. It's soft. It's very easy to work with. They blend amazingly. I will say that yesterday's look was my favorite simply because it was just a lot more softer than this. This is still pretty, but I much prefer a softer look, but I do like this. I think that it's a cute little palette. I think it's simple, straightforward, kind of everything you would need would be in here as far as mattes are concerned. Now, if you're more of a shimmer lover, then, you know, there is only the one shimmer, so, you know, keep that in mind, but I'm happy that I purchased it. I'm glad that they did bring it back and I was able to get it because I really do like it, and I'm happy to have it in my collection. But I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you are alerted to all my future uploads, and follow me on Instagram at jessicadeerly. All of these products will be listed and linked for you below. They are affiliate links, so if you click through and purchase, I do earn a small commission, and if you choose to do so, thank you so much for supporting me and my channel. And I also have a new little link below that is where you can shop all of my favorites under one link, so if you're interested in looking at that. It's a work in progress. I haven't added everything, but I have added like my top favorites, so if you want to check that out as well, if you are just curious to see all my favorites in one spot, that will be listed for you as well. Thank you so very much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!